Welcome back to the weekend wrap. No production, just my thoughts. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated. I'm going to keep this one pretty short. Apologies, it's not out late. Actually, apologies that it's out later than it usually would be. Chances are you're probably seeing this early morning on Monday rather than on Sunday when obviously it was recorded. But yeah, just been busy and I've had other sort of shows and stuff to do, partake in, etc, etc. But yeah, look, we're here now, and I guess primarily got to kick off with the Matchroom card that took place on Saturday at the Copper Box, aka the Copper Bosch for the night, where Johnny Fisher took on Alan Babbage in what was a next gen show of sorts, with some very older gentlemen on there as well. But I'm not going to go through the entire card because truthfully I didn't watch the entire card. I was in attendance, but I was busy sort of doing other things. I was trying to focus on this, that and the third. I saw Jimmy Sains and Giorgio Vizioli have fairly decent decent victories, I suppose we'll call it. Maisie Rose Courtney was beaten by Jasmina Zapatoshna, which initially I didn't expect would happen. Primarily I kind of based it on the competition that they had prior, and if you had looked at their records, Jasmina had never actually beaten anyone with a winning record, whereas in Maisie Rose's 7 fights, I think she had prior 6 fights, she had beaten 3 people with winning records. Stylistically, Maisie Rose has got better punch selection, but Jasmina in this fight showed that she actually had the better movement and the straighter, cleaner jabs and work. So with that being said, congratulations to her. Interesting to find out where Maisie Rose goes afterwards, as it was a very, very poor performance by any metric of hers I've seen previous. But with that also being said, it was a very, very good performance by Jasmina. I felt scorecards were correct. I had it 94-96, so did one of the judges. One of them also had it 93-97, and the other one had it 92 and 98. To be honest, it was hard to argue with any of those cards, to be fair. So yeah, back to the drawing board. John Hedges was also in there against what's his name, Sam Okwell, I think his name is. Fight ended on a technical decision due to a clash of heads, which resulted in a very nasty cut above the brow of Okwell. Again, I wasn't really paying that much attention. I did start to pay attention when it came to Reece Bellotti versus Levi Giles though, and in that particular fight, it played out pretty much as I did expect, whereby Reece Bellotti would outwork Levi Giles, be able to just sort of frustrate, bulldoze, come forward, stay in the pocket for the most part. But he actually tried to use a lot more angles, and he tried to get round the side of Levi Giles on many occasions. And Giles was actually the bigger guy in the ring. He didn't let his hands go early enough, which was one of the biggest problems that he had in the fight. Had he have let his hands go a little bit earlier, he may have actually affected the fight a lot more than he did. And that's saying a lot, considering he's only got 4 knockouts in about 16-17 fights prior to that. So yeah, it was an entertaining fight, obviously, but it just wasn't, it wasn't the cracker that was Reece Bellotti versus Liam Dillon back in February, that's for sure. But moving on to the main event, we had the Romford Bull versus Alan the Savage Babbage, which lasted less than 40 seconds in totality. Yeah, I don't know what Alan Babbage does moving forward. He may decide to call it a career now. 33 punch resistance is pretty much gone at this point. I mean, yeah, okay, he can be in some fun fights against similar level opposition, but I have a feeling that because he doesn't particularly have a promoter at the minute, anyone that he goes in, they're only ever going to throw him in against like the live up and comers, are just these big, young, youthful, big punching up and comers who are all going to pretty much do the same thing. Yeah, the punch resistance just isn't there anymore, so it might be time to hang it up, but just accept that probably in the career that you had, you overachieved. If he doesn't, I mean, look, if he sticks around, I'll most certainly still support, because he is an entertaining fighter when he gets going. He just wasn't able to get going. Johnny Fisher was masterful keeping the range, keeping Babbage at the end of his hand, and you saw from the very first shot that he landed on Babbage, it took a toll, and then they got into a little bit of a, I guess a little bit of an up close situation, which didn't go Allen's way either, and then that just resulted in a bit of a separation, step around, barrage of punches, and he goes down, gets up way too early, legs are not under him, he almost does a hop, skip and a jump trying to get back to his legs. Referee sees him and decides that the fight just waved off after 40 seconds. Now, he may have been able to allow him to carry on. I don't know how long it would have lasted had he have done so, but maybe he would have at least just said, you know what, I'm gonna go out swinging and just take, whatever happens, I'm just gonna go for it at this point. But I don't blame the referee for making the choice he made. It was fair, and yeah, be interesting to see where he goes. Johnny Fisher, he suffered no damage. He didn't even have any real ring time in there, so there's no excuse or no reason for him not to be able to get back out realistically next month if you really wanted him to. Absolute latest I think should be the start of September. I know that Eddie Hearn said he's planning the Australia homecoming for Liam Paro. Don't know when that'll be. I know he says he wants Johnny Fisher on that card, but I'd get him out before then. Even if it's just a undercard of something, just get him out active, just keep him running and progressing, moving about, because he didn't do anything in that fight whereby he can't now go out and gain more experience in another fight. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of kind of what happened there. Shout out to everyone who obviously was in attendance. Shout out to everyone who watched. Shout out to the people that have been hitting me up. Obviously, I asked the question at the press conferences. It's not the first time I've done that, but quite a few people have been picking up on that from the final press conference yesterday, which was good fun. But yeah, from there we kind of move over to the America cards. Now, one of them was behind the paywall on the Zone, which I haven't had the chance to kind of watch in full. I saw parts of the Danny Jacobs fight against Shane Mosley Jr. From the parts I saw, Jacobs didn't really look good, and at the age of 37, it's probably time for him to kind of call it quits now as well. He's definitely made more than enough money where he doesn't need to box again. And I think he would do very well, as a trainer or an advisor to young up and coming fighters, whether they be from, Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, like he is, or just in and around the States, or maybe be part of a talent scout or talent network. I think that would be a really good transition for him. But boxing as a whole, I think it's probably time for him to leave that part of the sport alone, personally. I know Kamel Moulton also won on that card. I haven't seen the fight yet, can't really comment on it too tough. The Golden Boy Promotions card, I know Ricardo Sandoval got an 10th round TKO stoppage. I haven't seen it, so but I have heard it was like a BS stoppage, and I know that Rob Tebbett was a little bit perturbed by that because that stoppage cost him $8,000 on his accumulator bet. Although he did say it was probably karma for the fact that he had Robson Conceição on his card, and Robson, we all know, didn't win his fight, which we'll talk about in a moment. Moving up to William Zepeda and Giovanni Cabrera. Now that one, I thought it would go the distance, because we saw Giovanni Cabrera manage to take the shots from Isaac Cruz, and he's always had a good chin. So I thought, William Zepeda obviously is very much a headhunter, or he has been. So I just thought that the chin would necessarily hold up. But in his last couple of fights, he's actually been a lot more of a body puncher, and he definitely took to body punching in this fight. In the first round, Cabrera did what I thought he would do. He held distance. He kept William Zepeda on the outside, was trying to sort of keep it rangy, which is what I thought he would do moving forward. But I think maybe the constant pressure made him feel like I can't move for 10 to 12 rounds doing this. So you know what, I'm going to hold my feet, try and see if I can plant a shot on him, which might maybe calm him down a bit. Unfortunately, that wasn't the right choice, because as soon as he allowed William Zepeda into range, William Zepeda never came out of range, and it was just a barrage of punches, left, right, up, down, round the sides, up the middle, like over the top. It was just, especially dig into the body, until in the third round, digs to that body. Cabrera just can't take it no more, takes a knee, looks up, smiles at the ref, and decides to sit out the count, and definitely decided to quit in that contest. But William Zepeda is now, he's officially the number 1 ranked opponent in every single governing body. So it'll be interesting to see which belt he goes after. Now, I have heard that he's going to go after the WBO mandatory, which is Denis Berinchyk, which I would say out of the 135 guys, maybe the quote-unquote easiest, maybe the easiest opposition out of those. He's not going to be easy, but he may be easier than Tank, easier than Shakur, and easier than Lomachenko. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, with that, move over to the top rank card now. Abdullah Mason against what was his name? Abdullah Mason faced, was it Luke? I was talking about this guy earlier on. His name's totally gone out of my head. Luego, Lapin, something like that. Anyway, doesn't matter. Either way, Abdullah Mason, third round. It was a masterful performance, very aggressive, very high energy. Used angles, movement, offense, defense. It was a great performance. The only issue I have is that he carries his hands very low at times, and while he uses his feet to sort of get in and out of range, and there is good head movement, he did get clipped a few times in positions where he should have been very defensive minded, or at least have been safe. So while that's okay, I guess maybe at this particular level, I do want to make sure that that's not something he carries on doing as he does move up the levels. But knowing how diligently he trains, knowing the kind of mentality he has, he's definitely a blue chip prospect that I've got a lot of stock in, and I have done for, I think, his last 6 or 7 fights. So yeah, big congrats to Abdullah Mason. I hope he keeps going from strength to strength. From there, we had Keyshawn Davis versus Miguel Medueno. Now this fight was, this was probably the most entertaining fight on the card overall, but sometimes it was entertaining for the wrong reasons. I mean, from the referee getting punched in I think it was like the 6th or the 7th round, at the end of that round, from Keyshawn Davis picking up his opponent in the 2nd round, to his opponent picking him up in, I think it was the 8th, almost like he wanted to body slam him. Him lighting up Medueno pretty much round after round and just not being able to get him out of there. Medueno with a very, very good solid chin. Probably mixed a little bit with Keyshawn not having the most power, in the 135 division. But it was a very sort of fun, entertaining fight. I highly enjoyed it. And yeah, it's definitely a fight I would watch again. But yeah, just highly entertaining, comical stuff at times as well. Then we get to the chief support, which is Oshaki Foster versus Robson Conceição. Now, I don't know. I'm not going to say there are shenanigans at play, although I did hear basically that Oshaki Foster has got one fight left on his top ranked deal, but had said that he wouldn't be renewing the deal, or that he wouldn't be re-ing up. He'd be looking to go elsewhere. So potentially, could there have been designs to just try and get that belt away from him so they could keep it on the top ranked side of things? I don't know. And it's not something I'm going to, I'm just saying this is things that I've heard. I'm not going to give it any sort of credence by saying that I agree with it as such. But what I do agree with is that Robson Conceição has had numerous title opportunities, and he always found a way to basically come up short against his opponent. In this one, this to me was arguably his second most conclusive loss out of the four title opportunities that he had. Yet inexplicably he managed to get a split decision victory. Oshaki Foster, it was a robbery. I don't often use the word. You guys hear me. There's there will be times I do call something a robbery, but this is definitely one of those times. You watch that fight, Oshaki Foster controlled the pace, he controlled the distance. He basically landed pretty much every shot he threw towards Conceição, whereas Conceição was the one on the front foot, but almost every time he threw shots, it hit arms, it hit gloves, it missed, like outright missed. Oshaki Foster he boxed. I'm not gonna say he like pitched a perfect fight or a shutout performance. It wasn't extremely that one-sided, but we're talking he won a solid 9 rounds in that fight. As an absolute minimum, he won 9 rounds. Like if you was being super duper generous, you could have given Conceição 4 rounds in that fight, and that's from me not even necessarily scoring it properly, but just looking at every round by round, it was Oshaki Foster's fight. So even when you hear the scores at the end and you're like split decision, and this, even the same way he had a split decision in the Abraham Nova fight as well, it just seems like they were just trying their best to take that belt off of him so that maybe you could give it to one of the new up and comers in the 130 division, because that's how it comes across, because there's no justification to say that he didn't win that fight. I mean, look, congratulations to Conceição. It's not his fault that the judges were awful at their job. Apparently all 3 of the judges were very new and inexperienced, especially at the world title level. They hadn't judged many title fights. And if that is the case, then I guess it shows, because that was not a great look for them. And it's funny because Bob Arum didn't say anything about this result, not like he did when it came to Josh Taylor and Jack Catterall, where things was a disgrace and he's never bringing his fighters back to the UK to fight and everything. But crickets on this one, when this was even more egregious than that ever could have been. But such is life, I guess. Commiserations to Oshaki Foster. I know he was devastated afterwards. He was in shock, didn't really know what to say, and I don't blame him, because that was just nasty work all around. But I hope he's able to get that rematch. But if not, I don't know what happens to him kind of after that. Going to the main event, Shakur Stevenson against Artem Harutyunyan. Shakur comprehensively won the fight. There's no sort of discussions there, but unfortunately the fight didn't end the way it needed to end, especially him. This is being his top ranked swan song, and now being a free agent. I've said he is a high talent, low value target at this point in time. This was supposed to be the opportunity to get his market value back up high with like a punch perfect performance, or like a commanding, dominating, possibly stoppage, or at least just an exciting fight. And considering the fact that Artem Harutyunyan isn't the biggest of punchers, I don't really see why you don't take the opportunity, maybe even get hit a little bit, just to sort of get into the pocket, just to make the fight a lot more a lot more gritty, dogged, and just more entertaining for your own stock. possibly even if you show a bit more vulnerability, making some of the other guys that you claim don't want to fight you, maybe make them a bit more emboldened to try and fight you. But look, it was what it was. I don't know if he's going to get the, you know, if it's going to benefit him now being a free agent and turning down the top rank deal that he did. But such is life. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I'm not really going to spend too much more time on it, but yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that. I will leave it there because again, this was, you know, a fairly uneventful weekend in that sense, but I guess looking forward to what's happening next weekend. But thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Give me your opinions on the fights over the weekend. Let me know what you guys thought. But I will catch you in the next video. Until then, peace.